to deploy cytoscape into mesh.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, you know what? Then let's. I want to add you in the list of demos. Let's see what you have to present. Lee, feel free to actually grab this. Grab the screen share. I was just waiting,
No, no,
for
no,
everybody
no.
to join.
This is a welcomed relief.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. There's Hector. We can hear you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, good morning.
All right. It's 3 minutes past, so let's get started. But before that, just one tiny minute.
Yep.
All right. Cool. So we have quite some interesting folks. We also have Sergio who has joined. Sergio, is this your first time in this call?
It is the first time.
Oh, awesome. Then you know what? You should introduce yourself to the rest of the team here.
Okay, very good. So I am Sergio Pozo. I am solutions engineer in the VMware, and I have been working in VMware in the project Hamlet, which is an open source service discovery protocol to glue different mesh together, but also different kind of service discovery protocols, whatever they are, not necessarily only Kubernetes-based service discovery protocols. And I am part of the service mesh group in VMware.
Fantastic. Awesome. One thing is, I'm not sure how many people here have listened to us previously talk about Hamlet. We have actually spoken about Hamlet, not once, but several times in the community call, because, we have mentioned about, all these other projects, where we are trying to be part of, the SMI and, now the Hamlet, several times during this call. So you are definitely new, but Hamlet is not new to the audience of this call for the most part. So that's fantastic. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Lee, do you want to talk about anything else, before we jump into demos or something?
Yeah, I don't know if we had, of the general topics that we had listed, we actually, for Sergio's benefit, I think if you don't have to do it, but if he were to scroll down in the weeks prior, yeah, you'd probably see Hamlet and VMware listed quite a few times. A couple of quick announcements, just general announcements off the top of my head. So we've also talked repeatedly about a new special interest group within the CNCF. It's the special interest groups are abbreviated as the acronym SIG, Special Interest Group. So SIG Network, we've talked about in the past. It will be the home base for networking related projects. So Core DNS, Network Service Mesh, Blinkerd, Envoy, there's a list. And we've also talked about our desire for Meshery to be considered as a sandbox project within the CNCF. And we're just so that SIG network has recently gone underway. We've got 3 projects up for review. That SIG will do a number of things. One of the things that we'll do is review project proposals. Proposals for projects to be donated to and incorporated into the CNCF. And so Meshery is one of the first on the list. Meshery ticks all the boxes for the entry requirements for Sandbox. Here recently, for those that are familiar, there's been some voting for, one of the prerequisites is that each Sandbox project would be supported by 2 technical oversight committee, 2 TOC members, TOC members of the CNCF. There's been voting to increase that to 3, which is no problem for Meshery, considering the governing board members and the TOC members that are interested in the project and that have given some time to it already. So So we'll be meeting with some of them privately to help take them through the project more, so they can be comfortable as we go through with the formal proposal. So I know for some of us, the things that I'm talking about are all very familiar. For some of the rest of us, what the CNCF is and what a donation of Meshery to the CNCF means for what many of you have been working on for, well, some of you for almost a year now. It doesn't mean any change in what we do week to week, in the things that we're going after, and the way in which the project is heading, and the contributions that you're making. Actually, the positive thing that it means is there will be additional support for the project. There will be an elevation of it, some marketing of it, so an opportunity for each of you to potentially to be sponsored to go to a KubeCon, maybe to talk about Meshery, to talk about the things you're doing here. So all very positive things. So good. So it's a very significant milestone for the project if that goes forth, and so certainly worth noting for like the 19th time on this call, I think. Another topic I think I wanted to call out for everyone was hopefully each of you feel this way. And there are many that hopefully feel this way that aren't on the call today, but that we try to do what we can to recognize recognize all of us, the contributors that are helping advance the project, and recognize whether those contributions are in the form of code or in the form of many other things. So we looked at one point, this second bullet item, we looked at the all contributors. I don't even know what that's called. I don't know if it's a GitHub app or it's a project, but it's a tool to help us recognize contributors through GitHub. We were exploring it, and I'm essentially calling for a vote to move away from it for two big reasons. One is that if you navigate to meshery.io/community, it calls out those that are contributing to the project already, and it does it in a customizable way, in a way in which we can curate, and each of you can be represented in the way that you want to be represented. And so, Girish, I don't know if you're able to pull that up, but it's meshery.io/community. So that's one reason, because the all contributors tool is somewhat constrained in what it does. So we have freedom here. We're also shortly coming out with a contributor ladder to identify what it means to be a user, a contributor, a reviewer, a maintainer, a core maintainer, blah, blah, whatever those roles are and things that come along with them, and the support that you'll get from the project as you're fulfilling that role. A lot of that we've just been doing organically, and hopefully we've been doing an okay job. But I'd like to wrap some language around it and make sure that you're well supported. Some of you are getting packages or have gotten packages in the mail recently. And so that's in part just to do what we can to give small tokens of appreciation for what you guys are doing. So the second reason so if you see these images, these profiles here, that's an example of the all contributors tool and how it gets used on GitHub to represent who is contributing to a project. I think the second reason to not go with this all contributors tool was that it's very GitHub centric, and I know that many projects and those that maintain projects, many of them are very code centered in terms of how it is that they engage with their audience, with their users, with those that are contributing, with the community. And for my part, I want to make sure that we're holistically recognizing what it means to be a community member and what it means to contribute. And sometimes people can have the most impact on the project and not touch the code once. And so it's not all about code is the other reason why I want to move away from all contributors. So long-winded explanation, a short question. Does anyone, or I should say it like this, if anyone would like to see us invest in and try to use this all contributors tool that's being shown right now as versus investing into the, Grisha, if you'll go back to the other tab, as versus investing into this and helping you build out your profiles here more, then speak now or forever hold your, or hold your peace for a while, because the proposal is to go invest into this more. For whatever reason, Anand his picture's gone. Yeah, I think like Karen on the page is a great example. Karen has helped out a lot with the colors of the logos literally themselves, the fonts that are custom, the colors that we've used for the Layer5 community, Meshry, the project. And she didn't touch GitHub once, but absolutely needs recognized for what she's done. And so, okay, well, if you have thoughts on that, just you come to me privately or put them into the channel. It's a community-driven decision. So. Great, that was the general topic. And then, there are 3 design specs that are, well, there's 2 design specs that are out for review. And then if Supra and he is, and Gunjan are on the call, at some point, hopefully you'll have dug into Helm enough that you'll have a design proposal for the Helm chart, and we can review that maybe next week. The other 2 that are there, I'll describe them briefly, and then so that we can maybe move on to some demos and some other things. If then we have time, we'll come back to them. But the first one is an enhancement to Meshry, the Meshry CLI. The Meshry CLI is Meshry CTL. Meshry CTL is the first touch point for anyone using Meshry. And we've really tried to bring a simple user experience to Meshry CTL and how it is that people get started with Meshry. That's part of the underlying goal of the project, is to bring service meshes to the rest of the world, to make them more simple. And as such, we've got a real focus on user experience. And so as we design out this next capability in terms of user experience, the next capability will be to invoke performance tests from the command line. So today, if you want to run a performance test in Meshry, you bring up the UI, you fill in the form, you tell it generate load, and it does all the statistical analysis and things. But we desire for each of those capabilities to be exposed. That capability is exposed via REST right now. Meshry CTL interfaces with the Meshry server through REST. That ability to invoke a performance test hasn't been exposed in Meshry CTL, and so that's what that design is about how it is that Meshry CTL test as a command should work and how it would feel. And so for anyone who's, and all of you have, used Docker as a command line, or kubectl, or any Linux-oriented tool, you've got, whether you would contribute to the code here or not, you've got input that's valuable in terms of how it is that would feel to invoke a performance test, typing Meshry CTL test, how that would work. So everyone's thoughts are welcome there. The significant reason why it is that outside of the general goal of exposing all of Meshry's capabilities through its command line interface, outside of that general goal, the specific need for us to achieve Meshry CTL test right now is that Istio and those that lead the performance working group for Istio, the performance and scalability working group, Linkerd, Octarine, and hopefully the rest of them, but at least those 3 thus far have committed to incorporating Meshry into their build and release process, such that they're doing performance, they're leveraging Meshry to do performance tests every time that, every time that they're doing a release. And in order to do that, they need to drive Meshry in a headless way. Hence the need to focus on the exposure, the creation of Meshry CTL test as a command line, as a scriptable command line thing. Okay, I'll say one more thing on that topic, and that is that the Layer 5 community has really had 3 projects. There's a landscape that describes the various service meshes, service proxies, load balancers, and things. We've gotten some recent enhancements from the community on that. That's been great. There is Meshery. That's the biggest of the projects. There's a sub-project to Meshery, and it is, the acronym to it is SMPS. And so, Garish, if you find that link under demos, we've talked about this any number of times on the, it's actually the one, yeah, there. We've talked about this quite a few times, but it's a bit abstract and it's under the covers of Meshery. And so it's this service mesh performance specification. Right now it's very simple. It's a YAML file. But what it does is quite important in terms of allowing those that are creating service meshes and allowing those that are consuming service meshes to exchange in a common format to do comparative analysis of the performance of their environment, the performance of their service mesh. And so this format captures, so actually I won't go through and describe it any further because I don't want to take up more time, but I'll note this, that while we discuss and have a goal of bringing Meshery to the CNCF, that's great. The CNCF is a sub-organization of the Linux Foundation. The Linux Foundation has a bunch of other sub-organizations. There's a new sub-organization being created, and we're part of the founding members to do that. And that one is focused on performance testing and the measurement of workloads, cloud-based workloads. The other teams they're from a litany of technology companies that I won't prattle off, but that are involved. They really are focused on IaaS-oriented use cases first. And so we're coming in to establish a project in that new sub-organization to bring this specification, service mesh performance specification, into that organization. So if all goes well in 2020, we'll have, the community here will have 2 specifications donated to and being governed by 2 individual Linux foundations. So specifications, like Sergio might tell you, can be somewhat dry or aren't always necessarily the most interesting. So we don't always talk about this one a lot. But okay, that's context. Thanks for letting me interrupt, Garish. I wanted to make sure that people have context for what those design specs are, and know that everyone, if you read through them, it'll help you digest the project, and your input is most welcome. So if you go back to the meeting minutes real quick, the last design spec was the Meshery performance management. And this is really related to what I was just talking about the. So with that, I guess Gunjan, you weren't on the call a second ago, but between you and Supra, if we can, let me ask you guys this: do you think next week, the next community call, that you guys might have something written down for the Helm chart design that we might review?
Yeah, we are working on that. I guess by the next community call, yeah, we would be having something. Currently, I was working on that overhauling of the menu, so I didn't get that much time to work on that. But yeah.
Nice.
Next.
Very good. Okay, well, that actually concludes the general topics I was going to talk about. So actually, Supra, since you were just speaking, as we go in to talk about some of the updates that you guys have been doing, I don't know how far along you are on the overhaul of the Meshery IO menu, and if there's something you might want to share or show. Or if you're not necessarily in a place just yet to get feedback on it.
Yeah, as mentioned on the issue, I was thinking of picking out some of the JavaScript code from Layer 5 iOS Navbar, and that means the design would be pretty much the same like that of Layer5.io, and I'm just means currently I don't have that much to show, but yeah, things would be ready, I guess, by this weekend. I can get a pull request, and it would be, I guess, done by the end of this week.
Oh, awesome. Oh, nice. And just I'll put in a link in the meeting minutes just for everyone's context. The thing is, Supra's off and improving the Meshry.io site. Right now, the menu is nominal, just has a few links, but there's really much more to expose there. So he's working on that. And then, good. Also, while we're transitioning topics, so there's the design for the new menu. Oh, super tech. Yeah, very good. So as we're transitioning topics, just as a reminder to or those that don't attend the Wednesday development call, I'm calling out the fact that there is a Wednesday development call, so there's a lot of demos that go on there. So hopefully those that attend that one don't feel like it's too much of a duplication. All right.
Nikhil, do you want to grab the ball?
Yeah, sir, sure.
Awesome. Go ahead.
And then context here, just for maybe Garish for everyone else.
We are by we, like, mainly it is Nikhil, like, he's actually starting to investigate, like, on bringing in some network graph capabilities into Meshry. In order to have a much interactive UI with which we can actually interact with the cluster better, because right now we are actually using a form-based way of interacting with the cluster, which is, again, like, needs improvement. So one of the things which Nikhil is working on is he was investigating two libraries. One was Cytoscope and the other one is D3. Again, like, D3 is a beast. So and Cytoscope is, like, much easier to start with. So so he is now working on Cytoscape and a React wrapper for Cytoscape, like, which he is probably integrated it into Meshry, because Meshry is built off of React in the front end. So in this demo, he's going to showcase the first integration of a Cytoscape example in the Meshry UI. So that's his demo.
Yeah. So this is what Meshry we know. So I just added a new nav option in the Meshry dev menu to demo my Cytoscape. There are two nodes that I've added on this. This is a target node, which is pointed using the red triangle, and this is a width or the edge that we are using to connect two nodes. So this is just the beginning. Later on, we can click on this nodes and do with different performance tests as required for the Meshry. So this is a code that I'm currently using for this one. There are two data nodes. I've assigned initial positions to both of them and assigned a target and a source from which the edge is going. They are taking the initial width of the screen and returning a div component inside which the Cytoscape component is displayed.
Nikhil, can you scroll up for a minute?
Yes, yeah.
I just wanted to check, like, the place where you are computing the width and height of the inner canvas. Cool. And have you set up any listeners for that? Like, because what's going to happen is if somebody resizes the page, I mean, obviously, I know, this is not yet complete, you're getting started, but just a food for thought, because I was under the assumption that that's going to be dynamic. Now that, since you have to compute that, I think it'll be nice if you can actually have a listener, for page resize event, and in that, change the state, and automatically, I think the render will be called from there. So I think that'll be a nice way to actually do it. You're pretty close. It's a very tiny change. Where I think you understand what I'm suggesting.
Yes, considering that, I guess taking the inner width, this function window.inner width, it will automatically change the size of the screen depending upon the on resizing the window of the browser.
Gotcha.
But there is a slight issue that the screen is getting scrollable. I'm not able to fix that. I think we have to assign a fixed height and width for the window so that the screen doesn't go out of mode.
Gotcha. Makes sense. That's fantastic. I mean, the point is, you're just getting started, so I'm pretty sure that, we will be able to get past the. But I mean, just getting the Cytoscape itself is great. As a next step, I think Cytoscape has a lot of plugins, for zooming out, zooming in, and I think it also has a nice way where you can actually have this smaller image of which shows where you are in the canvas, so you can actually drag that if your graph gets big. Yeah, so it's
There
just
are a lot of functions available in the Cytoscape. I saw that.
nice.
You can take the leverage of all of them to make the good UI. Actually, sir, there is one issue. There is a issue coming with the library that we are using for the React component, that is React Cytoscape.js.
Right.
When we reload this page, there's an issue that comes up on the this one, webpack. That window is not defined in the comp. Due to this, the page doesn't get compiled.
Gotcha. No, this is a simple issue actually. I can help you fix this.
Okay, so sure.
Awesome. This is a great start.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other feedback for Nikhil from the team?
No, sir. Nothing else. I'm still working on it to make it more better and better so that we'll be able to do our work soon and soon.
Awesome. I'm sorry. The question was the other way around. Does the team have anything for Nikhil? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm open to question.
I'm just super excited about this. This is, oh yeah. Who else? Let me ask everyone on the call this. There's a use case that's described for the first set of interactions to happen there on that visual topology. The use case is that Nikhil had said was, that you'd be able to invoke a performance test using that interface as opposed to using the long form that people do today. Can everyone visualize that, or does anyone feel like that would be an awkward user interaction?
I think it'll be good. Yeah. We can definitely improve on it, but I think for an initial start, that'll be a good thing, where we can select a service and then, ask Meshry to do a load test against it. So which will definitely be a great thing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to share something really quick. We had, hopefully folks can see this. There was a free tool that I had a collection of interns make, and it's not entirely dissimilar than this capability that we're looking at in Meshry. That free tool was a few years ago, back when people were trying to figure out which container network driver to use. and part of that analysis was letting people facilitating the testing of different container network drivers. And so this free tool would show people a visual topology. In this case, it's a very simple environment. It was a Redis database with a bunch of clients that you'd go in, you'd click on the the node, and you get a context menu, and within there you'd be able to identify. You see right here, you'd be able to select from basically what container to what container you wanted to run a performance test. And so so Girish, I agree that I think it can make sense, the visual interactions. Nice. All right.
If nobody has anything else to talk about, I can maybe showcase my demo. All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let me know when you guys can see my screen.
There we go.
Okay, awesome. So people are familiar with Meshry. At least like most of the people who are on this call are familiar with Meshry. One of the main use cases is that we can actually do some load tests from here. So one of the new recent things we are working on is actually something which Lee just mentioned a few minutes back, which is the capability to actually export the test results. So up until now, we did not have the capability for two reasons. One was that we were pondering on bringing that capability, but we wanted to also kind of stick to a specification, which is the reason why we have this other project. So these two have been living separately for quite some time. So now we wanted to actually take the step further to start bringing them together. Which is I mean, as a first step, is why we created this doc, which Lee already has shared in the community, in the meeting minutes, which is the the Meshry performance management. Now, as part of, so that's more like an execution, a set of execution steps we are planning on executing on. So as a first step, what we have done is we have kind of implemented the part where we have a very simple initial transformation that's converting the JSON results the system has been producing into the specification format. It's not complete, of course, but this is a very initial start. There are a lot of wires to be connected, so now so what I'm presenting here is not yet in the master branch. It is still in my branch, so I'm still working on it, because the transformation is not complete. But as an initial step, I've tried to connect the wires, and I've tried to present it in the UI in a way that it's not bad. It's as an initial part, I wanted to provide a decent way to actually share the result. So here you can see, once the test result runs, you can see a button, right next to the test results, which will actually allow you to download the test results. So this is a test result, which I ran a few minutes back. It's a very quick test result. You can see it's for 3 seconds, etc. So now, so of course, so we do see the chart, but then now you can see this new button, so now when you click on it, you will see that it actually downloaded a YAML file. So this is the first part. The second part is the connection of that same feature with the results table. So now, as a first step, we're only supporting exporting individual results. So what I've done is so if an individual result is selected, you can actually see the same button show up here. If multiple results are selected, it'll be gone. So it'll only work for an individual result. And the same way, if you click on that, you'll actually see that specific result being downloaded. And I can try to show the YAML format, of the exported result. Right now, it's really basic, but definitely something which I can share with the team. It's again still work. It's still work in progress. So I'm going to share my screen and switch to the other one in just a second. So if you guys can see my screen, so this is how far I've got, like, so where I'm able to convert, like, the start time, the end time. The exp UID is actually the test ID, which is a unique identifier, the endpoint URL that was used. I have not yet converted the environment information because, we are collecting some environment information, which we can definitely populate. Apart from that, the connections, the request per second, excuse me, and then the latency information, like the min, average, P50, 90, 99 max. So these are the initial things I've got to work. Of course, I just got this initial version to work, probably less than an hour back. So now that I have the framework set, so now I can actually focus more on the transformation itself, because it is quite an amount of information we transformed. I hope I think we just shared that a moment back, but I can bring it back for a second. Sorry, just bear with me for a second. So I'm not sure how many have seen the YAML specification. The YAML specification is actually quite huge, so I'm just going to share it here so you can see that there are quite some number of fields here. So I'm starting from the top and trying to convert some interesting ones quickly. So here's actually a sample spec we have from the repository. So I just copy pasted it because I'm already sharing the screen. So there's quite some amount of information that can be captured and presented. So I'm still working through it. Now that we have a framework ready, I hope we'll be able to move much faster. And in that progress, we'll also be able to make changes to the spec in order to optimize it for better end user consumption. So that's pretty much my demo. Any questions?
And so once the format is supported as an export, or once we're able to export in that format, what's the next step after that?
So the next step is actually to support the importing capability. So right now, so we have this performance page where the fields have to be manually filled. So we'll be moving into the part where we will support importing through APIs. We don't have to necessarily present it in the user interface, but the backend we'll bring the capability to support it in the backend APIs. Once the backend API is supported, we can then start working on Mesh3CTL to allow accepting a file with a specification, which will be sent to the APIs by Mesh3CTL, and then request to run a load test again, that kind of a thing. So that will be the next thing. So if you guys take a look at the Mesh3 performance management document, so there is some kind of an indication on the roadmap there. So
very good. And that was a leading question into what I was trying to describe to everyone before, is the need for users to be able to invoke a performance test from the CLI. And so so I was inviting all of you to weigh in on the design of the command test. And so of what Girish just demoed, it's a stepping stone to being able to get there. So the ability for Mesh3 to export in the format that we discussed. And now, to the extent that it imports in that same format, that enables the ability for Mesh3 to, if you were to, as a user, run Mesh3CTL test-f, and you were to give it your mytest.yaml, then that format that Mesh3 is now supporting, you can describe all of those test parameters in the YAML file, as opposed to through any number of, through a long list of flags as one thought. So just kind of tying back to our earlier conversations. Okay, if no one else has feedback on Girish's demo, and so I paused there just in case people do. I think Nuno might tie us off with the last discussion and demo. If you're in a position to do that, Nuno?
So hi everyone. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Um, yeah, so I will be starting to enter like the no cover zone for my laptop. So I will just do it quickly. We worked with Nikhil during the holiday period about the make Docker for the Mesh3 IO. And Girish was also pinged some couple of times, but I just wanted to share like the nice, let's say, learning about the community. It was more like sorry, I will be blabbering just a little bit now, but I think it was quite nice. Is that thanks to the work we were doing and everything, actually we found a bug with Docker and WSL too. So there's a problem with the file systems, how they are mounted when we are running with Docker and WSL2 as a backend. So the permissions are a bit too wide for the when you run. Sorry, I will just revert a little bit. When you run Jekyll, it creates like the underscore sites, which is the output, right? And on this one, you have like the C name that goes for the kind of the DNS name, right? For the website. This CNAME file needs to be at least 644 for the Linux guys here, but read write read reads or read write execute read read. So the problem is like when you mount from PowerShell now, when you do the make Docker from PowerShell, what it does is like it will create the file as 777 all permissions, and Jekyll will throw out actually an error because it says like, okay, I cannot mount it. There's a site permissions error. Okay, and actually you think that it's that you don't have enough permissions, and actually it's the inverse. So for everyone that works with Windows and need to have Docker and WSL2 as the backend, do the make Docker and everything from WSL. So it has been confirmed by Simon Ferkel, which is the lead developer, I think, for the part WSL2 in Docker. So there's a bug. It's not really Docker related. It's more how Windows mounts the permissions or the drives and the permissions, the volumes and the permissions. So it was a great bug. It took us like I think a couple days. I think with Nikhil we were getting crazy. Girish was like, yeah, no, try that, try these settings and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the important part really of this work was like, okay, we could really deep down, or let's say not deep down, but we could really focus on what was exactly the error, and that was something else. So sometimes we work with, I mean, in the community we were working, and suddenly we can find maybe bugs on other things, which was great in this case. So the make Docker works fine from again WSL with the Docker desktop for Windows as a backend. But the front end, so the volume when it's mounted, needs to be on the Linux side instead of the Windows side. That was funny.
You know, I have to admit, for my part, I almost, you know, when you said Windows, I almost sort of tuned out there and then didn't quite pay attention to the rest of the. No, just.
That's the Windows love we get. Thank you.
This is actually maybe a point of interest for me on the call. Actually, it would be interesting to understand how many of you are running Windows as your, you know, as your laptop, as your I hesitate to say development, but as your local machine. How many are using Windows versus Mac versus? So Nikhil's Windows, Nuno Windows. That's 2. Chaim is, I've got less respect for Chaim now. Hector, good deal. 4. It's funny is I'm quickly becoming the minority here with my smug, you know, iMac, with my overpriced iMac. Okay. Good. And then I know a number of you, Gunjan, Anand, are running Linux on the desktop. Raghav does. Siam, actually, this is a good time to pull you off of mute and kind of introduce you to the community. Curious, what are you running on your desktop?
Hello.
There he is.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Hi. So, a bit of introduction.
Actually,
My
sorry to interrupt. I'm real quick, if you would, you're fast and furious on the keyboard this morning. So yeah, thank you, Han. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the typing.
okay. Yeah, I didn't start it though.
Okay.
So, I'm Sayam and I work at Walmart Labs. I'm based out of India, Bangalore, and we handle the multi-tenant Kubernetes cluster for machine learning platform at Walmart. So I'm working for that, and apart from that, I'm a Kubernetes member. I am part of the APAC contributor, and we have meetings every Thursdays. Not every Thursdays, bi-weekly meetings. And I'm a ranch hands member. I'm an influx ace. I work on those aspects as well. I'm a community leader here in Bangalore for all the meetup groups for rancher, docker, kubernetes, and influx. So that's about me. Apart from that, I do a bit of breakdance and rapping.
No kidding. Oh man, is there? That's awesome. Is there? Well, first of all, it's awesome how many hats you wear, and you're clearly amongst. Or you fit in well with the other nerds here, so this is good. You know, with the any beatboxing that you throw in there with the rapping. You know, sort of just.
No, I don't do the beatboxing stuff.
Oh man, that's awesome. You don't have anything up on YouTube or you know that we might.
Yeah, there are one or two videos, but not much.
Okay, okay. Dude, if you're willing to share, I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah, we might have to have a beatboxing battle at some point. We have to.
Yeah, but yeah, I would like to say a few things like the way you started the community meeting, because I was entering for the first time and I didn't have any clue like what all things happen over here. So you started from very scratch, very beginner level, so I could get the context. Okay, what we are trying to discuss over there. I liked that very much. So yeah, that was very great part, and the demos that people have shown, good work that is happening. Let's see how much I can get into it, how much I can get into mystery stuff, and I've started exploring Istio. So let's see how well I can explore this. Yeah, recently I wrote a blog on Rancher with its capabilities on Istio and Kiali dashboard and Jaeger tracing as well. So I think because of that only Lee came to know, okay, I can contribute towards Meshery as well. So yeah.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, and that's and even yeah, I'm bringing it up here just to share with folks that link. And yeah, it was actually of some of Siam's writing in advance of this blog post as well that I had certainly caught my eye. Clearly your nerdery goes far. This is great. So if you guys haven't seen it, there's a link to it in the general channel in Slack as well. This is nice. I was telling, and by the way, I will always stop for a moment just to make sure I'm not being, not making a fool of myself. But it's Siam. Is that about? Okay.
Yeah. So
Siam. Okay.
yeah.
Garish spends many hours training me on. It's been like 15 years of messing him up. So this is great. I was in part going to highlight that not only should people go take a look at what's been written here, that this is good, that Siam, that there's actually a few resources I'll highlight to you after the call that
Sure.
might help advance your Istio or some your help you get Meshi even more quickly. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
matter of fact, there's a couple of meetups that I organize in Austin, and one of those is the CNCF meetup. This next week we're doing a hands-on workshop to Istio, and it's a workshop that Garish has given at KubeCon and Velocity and some other places. But some of those resources are available and may help you in your. So we'll get you pointed to those.
Sure. Apart from these, I write blogs at Medium. So you can see medium.com @Sayyam Pathak. So all those things that I like, I write blogs. My Influx blogs, they post on Newsstack, and Rancher ones get posted on Rancher.com.
Just out of curiosity, since we're just kind of wrapping up the call, thank you for the demo or for the talk, Nuno. That was helpful. But as we're kind of wrapping up the call, Siam, I'll see if I can't connect this dot. There's a Docker captain, Giovanni, who works at Influx. I don't know if you've crossed his path. I'll send you his. If not, it'd be nice to connect the two of you because you might enjoy him. But so I'll send you that link and some of the resources to the Istio stuff. I'll also note that Garish, I think later today, we'll have a couple of the first community contributed blogs up on Layer5. So Siam, your ears are burning when we talk about that. So love to get you published. All right. What else do we? Who else had things that we didn't cover today?
Well, as you did mention it today, a couple of things that you left on my GitHub, I will try to tackle the solution or the assignment probably this coming weekend. And the next week you will hear from me. I will contact you. I need to speak with you about my integration in this assignment and how I can provide help to the group.
Totally. I've got tons of time over the weekend, or if the ramp, so yeah, whatever time is convenient for you. Let's do it.
Yes, and I hope we can meet each other personally. You are very close from my city. I think you are located in Austin.
Yeah.
I'm in Monterrey, Mexico. I mean, like probably 4 hour driving.
Right.
I will try to make a visit and try to meet you in person.
I'll warn you, if we do, I'll try to shove some barbecue in your mouth. So
that's a deal. We have a deal, buddy.
Good. Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody else? Anybody else have? It's good to see Pavan on. It's good. I don't get. Pavan is in Austin as well, so this is good.
Hi, Lee. Yeah. Hey. How are you?
Good. Fatter from the holidays. I've also...
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Probably I'll meet you next Thursday. Like I'm planning to come to
the meetup.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, meetup. Yeah.
Beautiful. Good. Well, I needed a partner, someone else to help deliver the workshop. So I'll just call you up. We'll. No, that's cool. But fair warning, I will call you out. I will show you lots of love. So.
Sure. Hi, Girish. Nice to see you.
And then it's been since 2019 that I've gotten a chance to harass Chaim. Oh, Chaim, actually, I do have something for you, and that is that as we were laying out, so between the Docker Austin and the Cloud Native Austin meetups, that as we were laying out the agenda, and let me share my window. As we were laying out the agenda. we went ahead and tentatively scheduled half of this year's meetups. So Istio workshop, an introduction to network service mesh. So Ed Warnickel from Cisco, he'll come present. We'll do a Docker tutorial. We'll talk about Meshery. We'll do a Linkerd workshop, etc. And then in July, Chaim, if this logo looks familiar to you, in July we were thinking maybe you'd like to come out for some barbecue as well.
Sounds really good.
Good.
I think I'm supposed to be in Israel in July, but I'll definitely see if I can move things around.
Okay, yeah, or we can. These are flexible too, so we can do in August or do a September. So.
All right, I'll talk to you and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll be very, very happy to come over.
Nice, good. Then you'll get to meet Pavan too. We'll time that with Hector's visit, and we'll sit down.
Sounds great.
Okay, very good. So, anyone have anything else? 1 minute left, and we'll call it.
See you guys next week. Have a good weekend, guys.
Very good.
Thanks. You too.
All right.
See you next week.
Thanks everyone later.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. All right.
Bye all.
Bye all.
Bye, Sean. Bye. Hey, you say.